There's a moment right before the opening whistle of a World Cup match when everything goes still. 80,000 people holding their breath at the same time. The silence lasts maybe 2 seconds. Then that roar hits, and it feels like the planet itself shifted on its axis. That moment has been happening every single day since June 11th, and it isn't over yet. 48 nations, 104 matches, 16 host cities spread across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The largest World Cup in the history of the sport, and right now, as you're reading this, it's still unfolding. But the question that economists, city planners, and taxpayers have been quietly asking since the opening whistle, is any of this actually worth it? And the answer, depending upon where you're standing, looks very different. Let's start in Mexico City on the morning of June 11th. The Estadio Azteca, a true coliseum of world football, the only stadium in history to host a third FIFA World Cup, welcomed Pelé in 1970 and Diego Maradona in 1986. On June 11th, it opened its gates to a new generation. The locals simply called El Coloso de Santa Ursula, the Colossus, and on that morning it earned the name again. Mexico made history as the first nation to host 3 men's FIFA World Cups. That alone carries a weight beyond dollars and cents, a point of national pride so deep it runs into the country's identity. But pride doesn't pay for infrastructure, and Mexico's story heading into 2026 has been more complicated than the headlines suggest. Mexico City announced more than 30 infrastructure and mobility projects surrounding the stadium. Guadalajara built new light rail lines connecting the airport directly to Estadio Akron. Monterrey developed 2 new metro lines and fully renovated Line 1. These are real investments, not decoration. Authorities estimate that around 3 million visitors will come to Jalisco during the World Cup. Mexico appears to be the main relative winner of this tri-national arrangement, with around $3 billion in expected economic benefits. Hotel rooms in Guadalajara, Monterrey, and Mexico City haven't just been filled, they've been transformed. Restaurants are running double shifts. Airport terminals are moving more passengers than they were designed for. But beneath the celebration, other stories are unfolding. In Santa Ursula Coapa, the indigenous village adjacent to Estadio Azteca, residents have organized resistance since 2021. The World Cup, like all mega events, casts both light and shadow. Now, if you cross the northern border, the story shifts. It's Canada's first time hosting or co-hosting the tournament. Toronto and Vancouver are wearing that fact like a badge, a chance to introduce themselves to a global audience that thought of Canada, if it thought of them at all in sporting terms, as only a hockey country. Behind the goals and chants lies a carefully calculated economic play, a tournament projected to generate $940 million in economic output and create or preserve more than 6,600 jobs across the Greater Toronto area alone. FIFA projects the tournament could generate as much as $3.8 billion in total economic output for Canada. But Canada's economists are among the most openly skeptical voices surrounding the entire tournament. RBC economist Claire Fan noted that the FIFA-related job growth would likely be temporary and part-time, added that once hosting costs are factored in, Canada's GDP is likely to grow by just 0.1 percentage points, split across 2 quarters. Toronto and Vancouver have recorded some of the steepest cost overruns of any host city in the tournament. The Parliamentary Budget Officer placed the combined public sector bill for the 2 cities at just over $1 billion. Canada's share of World Cup fan spending is expected to be modest relative to its co-hosts, roughly 9% of total fan spending across the 3 host nations, while the US is projected to receive nearly 80%. And yet, something harder to measure is happening in the streets of Toronto right now. With more than half the city's residents born outside the country, hosting the world's game carries symbolic weight. The city's multicultural fabric will not just welcome the world, it will mirror it. For a country still searching for its identity in global sport, that is worth something. Whether it's worth $1 billion in public spending, that is the argument Canadians are still having, even as the games continue. And then there is the United States. 11 cities, the most matches, the most hotel rooms, the most infrastructure already in place. America hosted a World Cup before, back in 1994, and did what America tends to do with large events. Absorbed it, profited from it, and moved on. In 2026, though, the scale is simply larger. Tourism economics estimates that 1.24 million international travelers will arrive in the US for the tournament, contributing roughly $17.2 billion of the $40.9 billion global economic impact. 11 US cities are hosting matches, with Dallas, Miami, Houston, Atlanta, and Los Angeles seeing hotel occupancy spikes surpassing 1,400% in some cases. Airlines have deployed wide-bodied aircraft on long-haul international routes. Restaurants near stadiums are reporting lines like they've never seen before. The 2026 FIFA World Cup reduced some of the most expensive infrastructure demands it's seen in past tournaments, particularly large-scale stadium construction, because most venues already exist, with FIFA using NFL and MLS stadiums in cities such as Dallas, LA, and New York. No stadiums built in the desert that will never host another game. America's advantage is that it already had everything it needed. But the economists are saying something that the press releases aren't. For the US, whose economy dwarfs most of its rivals, a projected $17 billion boost amounts to less than 0.1% of the GDP, rendering the World Cup a marginal growth driver. Callum Clark, a professor of economics at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, said cities would see something of a little boom in sales tax revenue lasting a few weeks, and then would go right back to where they were before. Economic impact studies calculate total event-related spending and apply the economic multipliers to estimate broader benefits, but they often fail to fully account for public hosting costs. Quote, "Historical evidence gives us little reason to expect substantial lasting economic gains for host cities," he said. FIFA expects to rake in $11 billion from the World Cup, and as one economist at the University of Texas at Dallas noted, the World Cup will benefit FIFA far more than the host cities. The money flows upward to a non-profit organization headquartered in Switzerland, while the cities absorb the congestion, the security costs, and the temporary disruption to everyday life. So what is actually happening in the summer of 2026? The football has been extraordinary. The crowds are loud in ways that are surprising even seasoned journalists. Estadio Azteca is shaking the way it always shakes, like a living thing, not a building. Toronto is discovering that it has a football soul buried underneath all that hockey. Los Angeles, Dallas, and Miami have become, for at least these weeks, the centers of the world. And the money is real too. Restaurants are running out of food by 9 o'clock. Hotels that haven't seen full occupancy in years are turning people away. Cities that were skeptical were now converting. But the deeper truth is what the economists have been saying all along. The 2026 World Cup will undoubtedly deliver extraordinary visibility, global media exposure, and short-term benefits for local economies. But global sporting events generate excitement far more reliably than sustained economic transformation. The 2026 World Cup should be understood less as a driver of structural economic transformation and more as a temporary reallocation of activity, its real scope often more modest than the narrative suggests. That's the honest version. That's the one that doesn't fit on the banner outside of City Hall. What the World Cup is giving the United States, Canada, and Mexico right now is not a revolution. It's a reminder. A reminder that the world is bigger than any one country's borders, that a ball rolling across a field can make strangers feel like neighbors. Whether that's worth $40 billion is a question economists will keep debating long after the trophies are put away. The rest of us already know the answer.